Hello guys, welcome back to the Selenium with Python automation series. This is the part 5, and in this video we will be covering other aspects of Selenium, which are drop downs, radio buttons, checkboxes, and also we will understand how do we fill out a form and submit it. And also in the form there is an image in which we can upload an image. So we will also understand how do we upload an image from our desktop and then submit the form. But before moving on, make sure to subscribe to my channel, and I hope that you have watched the other parts to this series also. And if you haven't already, I'll also link the playlist link in the description so you can watch the other parts and then continue from here. Okay, so I've moved to my screen, so you can see I've opened demoqa.com. So this is the site on which you can perform your automation testing on. So on let's understand how do we test the radio buttons first. So for that I'll go to demoqa.com, then I'll click on elements button, and then on the left I have to click on the radio button section or the button. So here then you will see this radio button, so then we will click on one of this button and test it. So for that I'll go back first. So this is the home page. So first we will load this demoqa.com. So for that I'll create a new Python file and name it radio button radio buttons, and then copy the starting code from our previous code. Okay, so this is the previous code, so I'll copy paste it. Okay, so this is the demoqa.com. It will open the demoqa.com. Then we want to click on the elements button. So for that I'll do control plus right click to inspect, and then I'll scroll down, click here, click on the elements button, and over here you can see that it selected the wrong uh, element. So you have to wrong tag, so you have to select this path tag. So this is the link tag. So control plus right click, then copy by xpath, go back to PyCharm and write driver dot find element by xpath and paste the xpath. Then we will click on this button to move to the next page. So let's run this. Okay, so it's opening demoqa.com. Then it should click elements, but it didn't, because and that's what I wanted to show you also, that sometimes it doesn't even locate by xpath. So in the previous video, as I told you, that always search if there is an attribute called name or id. First of all search the attribute id. If there is an id where attribute over here, so locate by id, otherwise go by name. If not, by id or name. If id and name attributes are not present, then copy or locate by xpath or css selector. But in our case xpath is not working, so we will choose an alternate option, which is by css selector. So I'll control plus right click, copy by css xpath, css selector. So over here, by instead of xpath I'll use css selector, and I'll remove this xpath and paste this, and let's test if css selector is being located or not. Okay, so it's opening demoqa.com, and then it should click elements, and it did. Okay, so it's working. Then we would need to click on the radio button to move to this particular page, to move to this particular section. So I'll close this, and I'll go here, click on elements, and then locate this radio button section, inspect, click here, click on radio button, and it is an list by ID. Okay, so always, as I told you before, go by ID first, then go by name, then go by XPath or CSS selector. So we have the ID here, and ID is the simplest locator. So I'll go by ID for this to locate this particular radio buttons section. So I'll copy this ID, and then okay, then we will locate by ID, driver dot find element by ID, and we will click this, not click, and let's run this. Okay, so it's opening demoqa.com. It should click on elements, then it should click on radio button, which it did. And now let's locate, or now let's click on one of this radio button. Okay, so after we have located the elements, then the radio button, so we have to click on one of this radio buttons. So what I'll do is I'll click here again and click on this particular label. Okay, so it's a label tag, so and its value is yes. And if we want to choose impressive, so we can select here. So its label is okay, it's a label tag with the value impressive. So let's click on impressive, let's say. So I'll control plus right click. By the way, it doesn't has ID or name, so I'll select it by CSS selector, and then I'll do the same thing, driver dot find element by CSS selector, and paste it, and then click it. So let's run this. Okay, so you can see that it selected the impressive radio button, and you can see that it is also being shown on the screen that you have selected the value impressive, or the radio button called impressive. Alright, so let's close this. Okay, so we understood about the radio buttons. So in radio buttons, as you see that if you select one, so you cannot select the other, because in these, if you have options like these, you can only select one of those options. So let's test the checkboxes now. And in checkboxes, you can see that you can select multiple options, like I selected notes and commands both. So home is the parent for desktop, documents and downloads, and desktop is the parent for the child elements called notes and commands. So first let's test by clicking on desktop, then we will test by clicking on notes. So let's go back to PyCharm first, and let's copy this initial code, or we can just do it over here, or we can just create a new file. Let's say we will copy the starting code, and let's create a new file, and let's call it checkboxes, and copy the Python code. And also after doing this, we okay, so we go to the home page, and after going to the home page, we need to click on elements. So after clicking on elements, we need to locate the checkbox, but for the elements we already have the selector, the locator over here. So I'll just copy this and paste it over here. So driver dot find element, and then yes, dot, we need to click it, then dot click, then we will locate this particular checkbox. So for that, again I'll locate using by ID. I'll locate by ID, which is item 1 in this case, and for that, driver dot find element again by ID, and paste it, and we need to click it. So let's run this. Okay, so after we click on checkboxes, okay, so after we are here, so we need to click on this button and then this button, then click on notes. So for that, I guess I need to locate this particular path, or this particular, yeah, this particular path. So for that, I'll copy using CSS selector, then again driver dot find element by CSS selector and paste it. By the way, I'll also do one thing. I'll also do one thing. I'll maximize the window so that we can see everything clearly. Um, okay, so I'll paste it here to maximize the window. Then it will select the it will select this particular, and it will open this. Then after it opens this, we will try to click on desktop and then click on this notes button, or we can just directly click on, let's directly click on this desktop checkbox. So let's look at this. Okay, so this is again a path, so I'll copy it using CSS selector, go back to PyCharm, and then again driver dot find element by CSS selector, and then click it. Let's run this. Okay, so it should now also expand the window, which it did. It will click on the home. Okay, so I was getting errors while clicking this, so I couldn't locate it using CSS selector or XPath, and I couldn't find a way. So what I did was, instead of clicking on that button over here, I clicked on this plus sign, which also expands these checkboxes. So I'll locate this plus sign. And by the way, I also tried to choose this path before to test it out, but it was not being located. So instead I chose this parent tag, which is svg something. So I'll use this, copy CSS selector. So basically you have to test it by yourself, right? Sometimes the path will not work, path tag will not be located, so then you have to choose some other tags, the other tags, because you can see that this is the parent tag, this is the child tag. So you have to try different ways out. If CSS selector doesn't work, then try XPath or by ID, by name. So you have to try different ways, whatever works for you. So for me, this parent tag is working and this path is not being located, so I'll choose this parent tag instead. And also it was not working by XPath, so I chose CSS selector. So I'll go back and paste it here because we are selecting this. Okay, so and then we will click, and then after clicking on this, we will click on this desktop. Okay, so let's run this. It's opening. So you can see that it expanded it, but it didn't select the desktop checkbox. So let's see where the problem is. Okay, so there's a problem over here also. It is not selecting it. So let's see what the problem is over here. Why isn't it selecting this desktop checkbox? So let's locate it again on this desktop path, and I tried to select it by a CSS selector, this path tag. So let's do one thing, let's select this parent tag by CSS selector instead, and let's see if it works. So I copied the parent tag CSS selector locator. So I'll remove this whole and paste and then run again. Okay, so let's see if it works. I hope it does. Okay, so it selected this desktop parent tag, so it's working. We have covered radio buttons and checkboxes. Now we will cover how do we fill out forms. So for that I'll click on the forms. So we need to click on the forms, then click on practical form, and so here we will fill out our form. We will enter our first name, last name, email, select a radio button, mobile number, select a date of birth, enter the subjects, enter our click on these checkboxes, then we will upload an image from our desktop and enter a address, and then we will also understand this drop down, like how do we select a value from the drop down, in which we will select the city or the state that are mentioned over here, and then we will click to submit the form. Okay, so I have created a form Python file and I pasted all the starting code, and for this you need to go to you need to get demoqa.com, then you need to select the forms button, then you have to click the practical form button so that the form is visible. So for that uh, I already wrote the code. So you get the demoqa.com, then you maximize the window, then you are clicking the locating the forms card by and clicking on this, and then you are clicking on the practical form button so that the this form is visible, right? Then you will send the keys such as first name, last name, email, select a radio button and enter the mobile number. So let's fill it till here and let's see if everything is visible on this screen or not. So let's send the first name first. So driver dot, let's just copy it rather than writing everything. So driver dot find element, and then let's just remove this all. So let's go back and I can locate this first name. So you can see that this first name has id of value as first name, which I think would be unique. So let's just use by dot id and then paste the value of id, and then we need to send keys. So I will send keys Mars, then again I'll copy this, paste it here, also just paste it here and then paste it here. uh, okay, so for this it is the id. Let's see what is the id for the last name over here. So click on last name and the id is last name. So copy this, go back to PyCharm, paste it here and write my last name is Jafrani, and then you need to enter email. So let's go back and then select this email input box, and it has the id user email. So copy this and then paste it here, and email I can say mars@gmail.com, and then you need to enter your phone number. So for that I'll again click on this input box, and then it has id user number. So go to PyCharm, paste it here and then enter any number you want. um, I think it should be 10 digits. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But let's remove this. And then you need to enter the gender. So for that gender we need to click. So driver dot find element, we will do it by CSS selector. CSS selector, and then we will click on it. So for that we will choose click, and then click on mail. So for that I'll open this, and I think I need to just, okay, so I'll choose it as a CSS selector and paste the CSS selector value here, and then run this file. Okay, so it entered mass, then it entered my last name, it entered the email, and not it also selected this the gender as male. So these are the radio buttons. It also entered the mobile number. So up till now it's working perfectly. Now let's select the date, subjects, hobbies. Then we will and then we will understand how do we browse the picture. So let's close this. Let's enter date of birth, subjects, and hobbies. So after I think we filled till mobile number, so we need to select the date. So let's select here. So you can see that this is an input tag, right? So that means you can enter any value over here. So you can enter any value over there. So like you can just enter my birth date is 17 November 1998. So I can just directly type here and it will automatically select that. And then I can just move to the next one and enter the subjects I like, such as maths, physics, and then I can maths, let's say just maths, or I think we need to click on enter as well. Then I will select the hobbies, uh, like for that I'll also write physics and press enter, so it will also select that. And then I will select hobbies such as sports and reading. By the way, sometimes a date doesn't has an option to enter the input value. So in that case, you will see that there will be a select tag and you will have multiple options in a list. So you can just directly select any particular date and then go here and then select this, and it will directly take you to that particular list tag, li tag, and you can just select that or locate that using CSS selector or XPath or by ID maybe. So okay, so let's go back to PyCharm and let's select our date, or let's send the keys. So let's just copy this over here. Let's copy this one and let's send values such as 17 November 1998, which is my birth date, and we will select it by CSS selector, and let's see what the CSS selector is over here. So let's locate this. Okay, so let's take it by ID, not by CSS selector. That's much easier. So let's take it by ID, and the value is this, and then let's enter subjects. So I'll again use this because we are just simply sending keys. But one second. So let's go back. So we need to enter. So we will basically enter. We will basically enter example maths, and then we will click on keyboard enter, so that you can so that it will include that in that particular box. and then we will enter physics and then press enter, and it will also include that. So for that I'll first locate this tag. So what is this tag? I think this is not an input tag. So let's just select, let's see. Okay, so there is no input tag, so let's just select this tag. Let's just deselect these. And select this, and then let's select it by CSS selector. Probably it should work. Okay, so for that CSS selector, and let's paste the value. And then over here we will not okay, yes, we will send values, but let's send value as maths, but let's store it in some variable. Let's say maths, but let's say let's call it maths. So then for the maths variable we need to send keys again, math dot send. Okay, no, but we will not send keys over here, but instead we will find the element and then we will send keys, which will be maths, and then we will, what we will do is we will again send keys and write keys. Basically you need to write keys dot return, and it will, and you can write this command so that it imports the keys from Selenium. So it will basically click on the enter button after we write maths. Now let's also send physics, and for that I'll again just copy paste it, and right here let's change it to physics, and right here physics with P capital. Okay, so after that let's enter the hobbies. So for that I need to click here and click let's select the sports hobbies and the radio and the reading hobbies as hobbies. So for sports I think I have to, okay, so this is the input one. If I need to select this, okay, so this is input button I guess. So let's select this input by ID, much easier. So driver dot find element by dot ID, paste it, then click it again, then just copy paste it here, and then let's select reading. So for reading it should be, so for reading it's the ID value is checkbox 2, hobbies checkbox 2. So let's just make it 2 over here, and now let's run it. Okay, so it entered the email, it should select the gender also, then select, okay, so it didn't, it overwrote it. Okay, so it overwrote it. That's the problem. Okay, that's why it's not working. So I think we need to clear this box first, then we will enter the value. So we will try to clear it up, then we will enter 17th November 1998. So like 17 November 1998, then we move to this box. Okay, so do one thing, let's store it in a variable. uh, let's remove this. So after we find this element, we can just dob dot use clear. So clear will basically clear the input box, so whatever is entered initially would be removed, and then we can send our keys, which will be 17 November 1998. So let's run it again. Okay, so I made some changes. I selected this by ID, and I'll show you how. You can see that after you click over here, so after you expand everything, you will see this hidden input box, which I just got to know. So you can just select it by ID and it will be located, because before it was not being located. And for the hobbies element, I selected it by CSS selector, and I did it by clicking here and then clicking on by here, and then you can see that there is an input box. And I also found out that you cannot select this input box. Usually the label will work over here, because there isn't before and after. I don't know why, but I mean, I just copied it using CSS selector, and I pasted it here for both of the hobbies which I wanted to select, for sports and reading, and it worked. So I'll show you after running this. Okay, okay. Okay, so it entered maths, then it entered physics, then it selected hobbies as sports and reading. Now let's see how do we upload the image. By the way, the date of birth is the same because it was also causing some problems, so I just committed out the code. So we will browse the image and upload it, and then enter address, and then choose the drop down. Okay, so let's understand how do we browse an image, or how do we select or upload an image. So for that, I'll write, let's say, image. uh, I'll go to, okay, so I'll select this browse, and this is an input with IDs upload picture. So I'll copy this, and I'll write driver dot find element. So we don't need to click it over here, so I'll just paste it, and we don't need to click. I'll tell you why. So it will automatically basically locate, and it will automatically click it. So our file path is, I have given my file path, so you can also give wherever your image is stored. You will just write image image dot file, oh no, image dot send keys, and then you will write file path. So basically what it will do is, it will we are first of all locating the element for the button to upload the image, and we don't need to click, it will automatically click it. And in only in this case, only in uploading the image case, then you need to mention the file path in a variable, then you will pass this variable to this image variable by sending keys. So you are sending keys and sending this path basically, and it will upload it. So let's run this and let's check this. Okay, so it also uploaded the image, as you can see that it uploaded it. Now let's just select this drop down. Let's say I'll select Rajasthan, and then we will submit the form. So for that, I've already written the code. So for this, basically I've commented out all the above code, since we didn't study weights up till now. which we will probably study in the next lecture. So the operations will interfere with each other, because we have so many operations over here. So that's why I commented out all the other operations, and so that we could at least understand the drop down. And then in the next video we will understand this with all the wait commands, so that each element could be filled in, and then we can successfully then submit the form. So to understand the drop down, basically there is a action chains within the Selenium which you have to import. So what happens is, like, after you are filling the form, so you need to scroll down so that this particular select state input box could be a drop down could be selected. So for that you need to go down, you need to use this command keys dot page down, so that your page could move a bit down, and then your locator for this particular drop down could be located easily. So after going down, we will find this element by CSS selector, then we are clicking on it, and after clicking on it, we are basically so after so what we are doing is we are clicking on it, then after clicking on it we see multiple options, but since we don't have any select tag, so we cannot select them by value or by index. So we are just putting Rajasthan, and then we are clicking enter on, and we are clicking enter, so after that it will be selected. So that's exactly what I did here. I selected this element, and then I send keys. So basically this select is to click on this particular box, and the other select is to enter the input. So basically we have to write two selects. One select is to select this, and the other select is to have this cursor over here to send keys. So I'll run this. Okay, so Rajasthan has been selected. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was quite a lengthy video, and I have covered most of the parts for Selenium in this particular video. And in the next video, probably we'll be covering uh, like not many commands are left, not many stuff is left in Selenium now. So we will be probably looking at waits, like how do we implement waits in Selenium, because as you could see that we also commented out the other code in Selenium, because they were basically interfering with each other. So that's why we need to introduce waits in the next lecture. And secondly, we'll also be covering like how do we drag and drop elements, and yes, probably these things will be covered in the next video. Also, I would highly encourage you guys to practice these commands by your own, because as you saw that I was sometimes using xpath, sometimes I was locating by css selector, sometimes by id. So basically there is no right or wrong way, you just have to find your own way. Basically that's how it works in Selenium. So you have to basically locate by, for example, if you're locating by css selector and if it doesn't works, so just by locate it by xpath. And if you see that if it's not being located by xpath or css selector, so it might be that you have chosen the wrong tag. So you basically you have chosen the wrong tag. So do one thing, like do locate into deep into the tags, so there will be further child tags opened, right? So you have to select the right tag. So you can basically try out different tags, and then locate them by css selector, for example, and whatever works you can just use it. So yeah, it's a bit complex, it's a bit time consuming, but yeah, this is how it works in Selenium. And also, if you enjoyed this video, so make sure to subscribe to my channel. And happy testing and coding, and see you guys in the next video. Ciao.